eventually that inside little seed of pride might grow and sprout and bear the fruit of death. We all know about Simon in the book of Acts. There was a sorcerer named Simon who came and believed, right? So the Bible says that he came and he believed. But then he went to the apostle and said, I give you money, you give me the authority to give people Holy Spirit. So what did Peter say to him? Peter said to him that you are bounded in sin. You have no part in this faith. That was a very, very scary comment. Very scary comment. Because remember, he believed it already. Okay. So let me read you the comment from Peter. When Simon said, I give you money, give me the authority. So whoever I lay my hand, they receive Holy Spirit. Peter said, your money perish with you because you thought that the gift of God could be purchased with money. You have neither part nor portion in this matter, for your heart is not right in the sight of the Lord. Okay? 23. I see that you are poisoned by bitterness and bound by iniquity. This is a guy who believed and baptized. But in here, Peter said to him, you have no part in this faith, which means that he won't be safe. He will not be safe. He has believed and baptized, but Peter said, you are still bound in iniquity. And you have no part in this faith. Why? Peter said, for your heart is not right in the eyes of the Lord. Why? Why is his heart not right? From where? From when he tried to gain the authority and use for his own glory. Earlier, he talked about Simon. In verse 11, say, they hid him because he had astonished them with his sorcery for a long time. He enjoyed that. He enjoyed surrounded by people, earning the praise, and everybody promote him and follow him. He was the center of attention. He loved that. And he want to regain that kind of supremacy above all. So he said, I give you money, give me the power of giving people Holy Spirit. So then here, Peter said, no, your heart is not right. So you have no part in faith. You are still bounded in sin. So that's the third potential danger. When Satan asked Jesus to jump off, it's for his personal glory. And that's not what we should seek after. Lastly, before we wrap up in this part, there's one more thing we want to touch upon. Let's go back to Luke chapter 4, verse 13. Chapter 4, verse 13. Now when the devil has ended every temptation, he departed from him until an opportune time. Okay. This is the annoying. This is why Satan is so annoying. He just doesn't do once for all thing. You know, it's like, I'm not sure if you have that experience that you want to buy a car and then you send your information to get a quote from the car dealer. And after that, they call you relentlessly. Even you tell them, no, thank you. They say, no worry, I call you next time. And then they call you the next day, the next day, the next day. All right. So you know what? This is why Satan is so annoying. He just wouldn't let go, and he doesn't know the meaning of no, thank you. Okay? He doesn't know the meaning of that, and he doesn't walk away easily. So then here, even after 40 days of temptation You thought that it was the end of the deal. Then out of nowhere, Satan said, all right, I will see you next time. But you know what? You're hungry, right? Why don't you just turn the stone into bread casually? It's not like an obvious, oh, I'm tempting you now. Come on, we done. Okay, temptation is finished. We are done. Just out of good reminder, just out of a friendly gesture. Hey, why don't you turn the stone into bread? And when you thought that was done, all right, turn the stone into bread, show you the world, or jumping off the pinnacle, that you thought that everything is done. That in here, he just wouldn't go. He said that, oh, yeah, until the next opportunity. He is like those gum that happen to stick to your shoes, or accidentally when you sit on a bench, there are always those gross people that just put their gun like underneath, that you get to your jean, you get to your it just doesn't come off. Yeah, that's Satan. Sticky. So he here says, yeah, we are not done yet. I will come back for you. So you have to remember, serving the Lord is a journey of challenge. Satan doesn't go away after you begin serving. Satan doesn't go away even you become the most experienced worker. Satan will not go away even you are the pastor. Satan is always looking for opportunity if you allow him. That's why Peter said what? Peter said that he was like a roaring lion, looking for opportunity. So lastly, in terms of preparation, knowing that as long as you are serving, as long as you are taking this journey, before you give up your last breath and die, we are always under siege. Always. Okay. Satan is always looking for opportunity to penetrate our defense. It could be when you are weak, he tempts you with the lust of the world. When you are strong, he tempts you with the thought of being proud of yourself. Huh? So it's a continuous process. And we always need, every one of us, including myself, that we always need to pray for God's protection. Okay? Be alert, be cautious, and also be prepared. Okay, so we are done with the first one. So after the preparation, let's go to the second. Wrong. Okay, now let's look at the example of what Jesus did when he was in his ministry. Let's look at the example in Matthew chapter 9. Matthew chapter 9. All right. Now, Matthew chapter 9, verse 35. 35. Then Jesus went about all the city and villages, teaching in their synagogue, preaching the gospel of kingdom, and healing every sickness and every disease among the people. But when he saw the multitude, he was moved with compassion for them, because they were weary and scattered like sheep having no shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, the harvest truly is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore, pray the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest. Okay, so we want to use this passage as the illustration of how Jesus served. Okay, so earlier we talked about now you need to gear up, prepare yourself in order to serve. Now, in the actual day-to-day practice, this is what Jesus did. for as an example for us. Number one, in here says that he traveled all the city and villages, meaning taking the opportunity and give your 100%. Okay, so when Jesus traveled, he go to all cities and villages. And let me tell you, some cities and villages are friendly, but some were not. He even went to the place that people look down. As we know, the Samaritan woman, right? We know in Gospel John, chapter 5, it talk about the Samaritan woman that Jesus went and spoke to him. But one thing unique, I'm sorry, is chapter 4. Huh? John chapter 4 about the Samaritan woman. Did you realize that when Jesus, when the Bible describes in verse 3, that Jesus depart again to Galilee, but he need to go through Samaria. Is that statement correct? Yes and no. He must passing through Samaria? Not necessarily. In terms of geographical location, you can always make detour. You could. In fact, in those days, some people, in order to show that they are more religious and holy, they purposely take the longer route to avoid city of Samaria. Because Samaria was considered as a degraded, a defiled city. They looked down on the people in Samaria, for they were mixed. Now, after the northern kingdom were conquered by Assyrian Empire, the Assyrian Empire moving a lot of Gentiles into the city of Samaria and mingled them. So after years and years of mingling and intermarriage, that they were no longer pure blood in the eyes of Israel, in the eyes of Jews. And as we know how obsessed the Jews are even until today, we know how obsessed they are toward bloodlines. So at the time, those who consider themselves religious and holy, they will rather taking a longer route to avoid passing by city of Samaria in order not to be defiled. That's what they feel. That's what in their mind. So when the Bible says that he must go through Samaria, that the statement is incorrect, geologically speaking. But what does it mean when they say that he must go there? Because there was a woman with sorrow waiting for him there. The woman who had 5 husbands. Sometimes we feel, or sometimes we just say, well, this is an adulterous woman. That's why she had 5 husbands. I personally, this is my personal opinion, I disagree. Because remember, Jesus recognized the previous 5 as her husband, legit. Either her husband died or her husband divorced her. She was a woman who has been forsaken or been deserted 5 times. That's why I feel this woman was a woman that the life was filled with grievance. So she probably gave up on the thought of having a family. That's why Jesus said, what you have now is not your husband. You are right. The previous 5, Jesus recognized legit husband. The one that you have, which is not legit, that make you a sinner, is only the current one. So in my personal, this is my personal opinion, this is a woman who gave up hope in life, who gave up hope for happiness. Can you imagine can you imagine her life that either her husband died 5 times? Can you imagine that the spouse just when you feel that finally I begin a new chapter of my life, finally I can build a family and having children, finally everything is fine, then the husband died again, or she was kicked out of the house. 1 time, maybe still a little hope. 2 times, I will struggle, I will endure. 3 times, what's going on in my life? 4 times, couldn't bear it anymore. 5 times, where is God? So if we put ourselves in her shoes, we might end up much worse than her. So simply mock her or simply condemn her is not the spirit of reading this passage. She was a woman with a lot of sorrow. And I think that's why the Bible says Jesus must pass that city. Why? Because she was there in the deepest and darkest abyss, giving a hope to ever see light in her life. But then, for those who sit in the dark, that Jesus was like the ray of the sun that warms the coldest heart. Okay? So then here, all the city and village means that Jesus did not single-handedly pick. I go to Jerusalem, I go to this place, that place, wealthy place, good place, comfortable place. Like today, if you want to serve, you do not say to the church, right? If you want church to use you, you do not say, oh, you know what? Africa, no. Third world country, no. I prefer Europe is good. Australia and New Zealand better. I'm sorry. If that's your mentality, then please step out of the way, for you are not ready. Seriously, you don't and you shouldn't being selective in, oh, I'm sorry, I only go to the good place. The place that's, they can treat me nice, nice lodging, nice food, nice environment. If that's a case, then you are not like Jesus. He went to the village, he went to the city, he went to all the places that people has a need. Okay. So number 1, in the actual practice in servitude, please do not be selective. Be submissive. Number 2, in here, when he went to the villages and cities, and he teach in their synagogue. Doing what? Preaching the gospel. Second, please remember, the ultimate goal of our duty, our servitude, is to preach the gospel. It's not just to make friends. I know, in reality, when we are engaged in conversation with the truth seekers or church members, no, you don't need to begin like in the visiting the truth seeker. You sit down and say, take out your Bible. Now, it's the 10 article of faith. Okay, you don't need to do that. Come on, you are scaring people away. Jesus, he did not do that. Jesus said, let me tell you a story. Jesus said, let me tell you a parable, right? So, but from that parable always lead to what? The kingdom of heaven. So we can apply our different method. You can apply different method, but ultimately, the goal is to preach the gospel of heaven. You are not preaching your own life experience or your own ideology or your own value. That whatever you share, that at the end, that topic is for the sake of the gospel of heaven. Okay. So yeah, we can be creative. We can be smart. I was teaching PMVP in a similar topic. I was telling that everything in life could come with value. Depends on how you use them. In fact, anything in the world, if you use it wisely, not only it might have worldly value, but it might at the same time present spiritual value. Like the lyre, the harp of David. You know, David played harps when he was a shepherd boy, probably just, you know, out in the field doing nothing, looking at the sheep, cannot go anywhere. Well, play some music. It was his hobby. But he was able to turn that hobby into a spiritual weapon and use that to cast out demons. So the hobby presents both worldly value and also spiritual value. So if you are into something and good at something, don't feel that, oh, because I like that is worldly, is carnal, I should feel guilty about it. The whole idea is, how do you turn that into a higher value to use in the house of the Lord? Let me tell you, like for me, you know that I take pictures. I love taking picture with DSLR. Those are big cameras. Can I use that for worldly, for the worldly use? Yeah. When I go on vacation, taking my family, so yeah, you know, I take pictures. So I come back, I make them into albums, so that my family get to enjoy it, and then I get to show off. Okay. So, is there worldly value? There is, but you can also use that into spiritual value. There was once in the church, there was a truth seeker who did not want to come to church, but he was dragged by his wife. The wife forced him to come. He did not enter into the chapel because he really did not want to know God. He didn't want a faith, but he didn't want to offend his wife either. Okay. So he was sitting in the dining, in the love hall, in the dining room. So after the service, he doesn't want to talk to anyone. He doesn't want to associate himself with the church member. So, of course, in this kind of case, we always push all the difficult case to the pastor, right? Okay, so Andy, just, you know, be prepared for that. Anything that they don't want to handle, they tell you to, oh, because you are the pastor. Sure. Okay, fine. The pastor, then I was told to, you know, go and he just get to know him. I went over. When I passing by, I saw accidentally he was playing with his phone and he was searching for DSLR cameras. And I passed by and I introduced myself. I said, oh, I see that you are checking for camera. He said, yeah, thinking about it. And I begin by, so which one do you prefer, Nikon or Canon? And then he said Sony. Oh, well. Yeah, but at least we begin somewhere. Instead of, you know, that if I sit down and say, you need to know God, and then he will say, no, I don't. So you know what? When you try to being very forceful, it only alarms the person and raise their defense. When you say, I need to tell you about God. I need to tell you about the Bible. He said, no, please spare me. But when I say, hey, which one do you use? He said, oh, I don't have much idea. Well, I've been using the camera. I have both Nikon, Sony, and Canon. I use them. I have all these lenses. You know what? And after we start talking about it, he opened up. And then we become friends. Let me give you another example. There was once, there was a family who hasn't been in church for a long time. Long time. And I learned that they had a newborn baby. They have a newborn baby. So I call and see that if I can visit. I guess they want to show off their newborn baby. So they say, yeah. That's the first time they are TJC member, but I never met them before. So a council and I, we went and visit. We were like, chatting with them and play with the baby. And I was taking picture of the baby, of course, with the DSLR, because not many family, they either have it or know how to use it. So I was taking picture, and then after I came home, I select the photo and took out the one that I feel it was the best, and I developed them, and I make a card. I wrote in the card. I attach the photo. I sent it to them, and then I saw them in the following week on Sabbath. Probably the first time in 10 years. They show up. What I'm saying is, you have to ask yourself, everything that you do, either sports, hobby, or even your academic achievement, you have to ask yourself, how am I turning that ability into a weapon to fight the spiritual battle? Maybe not a hobby. You say, you say, Pastor, I'm sorry, I just have no life. Okay. I got no life. I don't know anything. Okay. But maybe if you don't know anything, you know a little bit about academic, right? Since you have no life, that means you are more into academic. I hope. Or you are more into video games, one or the other. Okay. So perhaps there are some family who are new in the state. They are not in need of material provision or help, but they are in desperate need of someone tell them, how do they register for their kids in high school? Maybe they are extremely worried. And then when you sit, you say, oh yeah, your kids in high school. Huh? Oh, high school is a tough year. And then they start telling you all their anxiety and stress over their kids. You say, well, you know what? This is what happened. This is how I handle it. This is what I went through. And then maybe you can also call some either the teacher or the other youth who are going through that stage, and turn your knowledge about how to apply for college into a weapon for the Lord to use in preaching the gospel. But ultimately, the focus is, we are not there only to make friends. We are there to show them Jesus and preach the gospel of heaven. And then it continues. Let's go back to Matthew chapter 9. He says that Jesus was there healing every sickness and every disease among the people. So, other than preaching the gospel, Jesus also tended to their physical need. Sometimes we feel, I don't know why, we all have this impression that anything in the world, anything related to material is not godly, is carnal. By having that assumption, you are actually calling Jesus worldly and carnal. Think about it. Jesus multiplied the bread, 5 bread and 2 fish to 5,000. Do not tell me, oh, that's spiritual bread. No, that's physical bread, material bread. the one that you eat so that you are not hungry. You should not always trying to turn everything to the so-called spiritual aspect. Look at the Lord's Prayer. Give us the daily bread. Oh, so worldly. Duh. Then let me tell you, you got problem. You got the problem of you think you are too holy. So sometimes people say, oh, no. Give us the daily bread is about the spiritual bread, the spiritual manna. Is give us the words of God every day. Yeah, in terms of elaboration of the spiritual teaching, you can say that, but you cannot decide for Jesus that when he say, give us the daily bread, it's not about the material need. Then you are thinking too highly of yourself. You're trying to portray that you are more holy than Jesus. Look at Book of Acts, talking about apostolic church. What do? They break bread. They broke bread in their fellowship. What does it mean? It means that you also need to pay attention to the need. Maybe physically, maybe materially, maybe mentally. Maybe they are lonely. They are not in lack of money, but they are very lonely. Maybe they just want someone to talk to. Maybe they need a pat on the back. Maybe they need a voice say, yes, I understand and I will pray for you. A company. Okay? So when we spend the time talking about the gospel of heaven, we also need to pay attention to the sick and the one with disease. If it is within your power that you have the resources, then yes, please help. As I said earlier, that there was once that a family, they will struggle because they do not know the language, and the child was struggle in school desperately. So I end up being the person show up in the PTA in school. I was in college at that time. Not recent. I met with the family a while ago. The kids is in college now. And then out of nowhere, the father just pulled it up and said, remember back then that you were the one attending the PTA? Because they do not know the language at all, and the kids were struggle in school. Now, when the teacher called, they have no idea. So I was the one called back the school, and I was called to school to talk to the teacher. I attend the PTA. Why? Because I was able to. So you do not only, I know, we always say just pray. But be very careful. When you say pray, are you saying it because you trust in God? Or are you saying it because you don't want to deal with it? Be careful. The spiritual encouragement could be genuine, but you could also only be an excuse because you don't want to take another step to get involved. So the easiest way, trust in the Lord and pray to him. Because when you pray to the Lord, I don't need to get involved. But in here, you see that Jesus did not only preach the gospel, he also cared for the sick, for the one afflicted, and for the one possessed by demon. Okay? So another thing is that we also need to tend to the need of life is within our power. Okay? And if we continue, we still have 4 minutes. Let's wrap this up. 2 more points. Number one, This is one of the most important passage about Jesus. Here says that in verse 36, when he saw the multitude, he was moved with compassion for them because they were worried and scattered like sheep having no shepherd. Compassion. Compassion is the key word. Compassion. There are different reasons to serve. Different reasons determine different value in servitude. Some people serve because they feel obligated. Okay, I grew up in the church. The church asked me to do something I should. That's okay. You know, some people serve because they feel obligated. Some people serve under competition. All right, the youth in my age, if they are RE teacher, I need to be a RE teacher. Otherwise, it look bad on me, as I was inferior. Okay? So sometimes serving, maybe not out of the genuine intention, maybe just competition. Maybe it's out of pride. I am going to be the best of the best. Not only in school, not only at work, I will also be the top in serving. I will be the best of the best in anything. In leading the hymn, in play piano, I want people to see my talent. That could also be another reason of servitude. In fact, people cannot see. Only you know what your intention is. So remember one thing, that our value of servitude is not determined by the result of our work. You could be the best of the best, doing the best in anything that you were told in the church, but maybe in the eyes of the Lord, you have earned nothing because it was never for God. It was always for yourself. Talking about the fasting of Pharisees, the prayer of Pharisees, the Bible says that they intentionally make it obvious for people to see and receive praises from men. So the Lord said, Jesus said, they have earned their reward. What is the reward that they earn for their sincerity? What is the reward that they earn for their diligence? You are number one. You are very good. And that's the end. You guess. So, you know, for everything that they did, they earned the praise of men, applause of men. Then they don't need anything. They earn nothing from heaven. So maybe you are very gifted and talented and eloquent and able. You are the best of the best. But when the mentality is wrong, your work might be achieving, but your value might be empty. Look at Samson, Superman. All right, he was out of all the judges, he was the only one with supernatural power. He killed so many enemies, but his servitude showed very little value in the eyes of the Lord. Why? We found in the book of Judges that you always find he delivered the Israel. He saved his generation. You always find the statement for the judges. Deborah, Ehud, okay? Shamgar, even Shamgar only got one verse. He still said that, oh, he killed 600 men. He saved his people. But you never, out of all the chapters for Samson, so many chapters for Samson, you never find that the Bible say he saved the people of God. It was never, because that was not the case. He did a lot, but it was never for God or for the people of Israel. Even at the last moment, when he collapsed the temple and killed so many Philistines, it was still only for himself because he said, for me to take vengeance for myself. Even at the last moment, that word were never forgot. That's why he was never remembered to be the deliverer of Israel. Means that no value. So then here, Jesus, he served because he saw them like sheep without shepherd, and he was moved with compassion. When you have mercy, then you are able to go the extra mile. Okay. All right. So lastly, in here says that you should pray to the Lord of the harvest. This part we don't need to. It's without saying. When it comes to serving, you can try, you can fight, you can learn all the technique. But at the end of the day, Paul said, I sow the seed, Apollo water, but only God make the growth. So when it comes to serving the Lord, we can only do it through two things. Number one, your dedication. Second, your entrustment toward the Lord. Now, when you have both, then the Lord shall abide with you. Let's all pray in silence. Amen.